Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lars Henriksen. I am with EXP Realty. I am part of the FYR University, and today we are talking about my top 10 tips for agent attraction. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. We're going to go through some slides. I will then open it up at the very end for any questions or comments you want to make. So let's get going. So here's tip number one. Like anything in life, you have to make a decision that agent attraction, inviting agents to your company, in my case, EXP Realty, that this is a decision that you want to commit to. It's very important that you make this decision because if you don't, you probably will never build a big group. And if that's your intention, well, that's the place you start is in your mind. And one of the great things about EXP is that we share our company dollar, our revenue. Last year in 2024, we shared about $198.4 million of company dollar in a pretty tough market. So that's amazing. I know when I share that with agents and I meet with, it really opens their eyes to the opportunity. So once you've made that decision and you commit to staying focused on your goal, which we'll talk about in a minute, that's going to help you get closer to your goal as you go forward. And if you want to read a great book on this, on about consistency and habits, I recommend a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. It came out just a couple years ago. And he says in that book that the seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. And as that decision is repeated through consistency, that habit sprouts and it grows stronger. So that's very evident with agent attraction. The more time you spend investing in meeting with agents, and I'll go over how you do that in a minute, then your team will continue to grow. And then you can start helping your team grow as well by sharing your habits. So what I like to think about when I'm meeting with somebody is most folks in the business are agents. They never really thought that they would build a team unless they had that intention to build a team. At EXP, we can build teams all over the country and quite frankly, all over the world. We're in 27 countries now, and you have that opportunity in every one of those countries. So are you an agent that wants to build revenue share? It could be that you're somebody like me. I'm a former managing broker, and I was very interested when I saw the model when I was still managing a brick and mortar company that I could do this and help my friends build a retirement that they otherwise wouldn't have. And that's something that excites me every single day when I'm meeting with agents. So I'm an attractor. I like to invite people, build relationships. It could be that you're a team leader, that you already have a team. It could be that you own a small brokerage or even a large brokerage, and you're not able to keep up with your expenses because revenue across the board was down last year. So it could be that you're a team leader that wants to bring a team over to EXP, and we can help out with managing the agents with all the administration work for the most part, and a great way to grow revenue share as well. And then a lot of you are hybrid agents, and what that means is that you're still in production, which is great. We do need agents to still sell houses. The last 3 years in a row, we have been the number one independent company across the country for units sold. So we do sell a ton of homes. So a hybrid agent would be somebody that's still in production. And I've met a lot of agents over the last couple of years with EXP that high producers, they were getting burned out. They wanted to find another way to kind of coast into retirement, and that's what they did. Is they phased out of production and built their organization through agent attraction. So a lot of you are hybrids, and that's great, and we can help you with in any one of those categories. So I want you to think about where are you now, and where do you want to be with your business in the next 3 years. All right. So next tip is you set an income goal. So I'm going to use a couple of examples of what you can build really in a fairly short amount of time. I would give this example, let's say 2 years. So set an income goal and create a plan based on your first 2 of 7 levels. So let's say that over the next couple of years that 5 of your friends in the business, people that you've done deals with, people that may be at a former brokerage. You invite 5 of them over. If every one of those 5 sells about $3.2 million in volume at 2.5%, then they would hit their cap, which is $16,000, and you would get the full amount of revenue share. So that would bring in, as the year goes on, you would be bringing in on your first level about $14,000 annually. If each one of those 5 just brought on 2, then you would have an average of 10 agents on your second level. And believe it or not, you actually get rewarded more on your second level at EXP than you do on your first. So that means that you would be bringing in, if everybody capped, you would bring up to $3,200 per agent, or $32,000. And keep in mind, thanks to a year ago, we switched over to what we call Revenue Share 2.0, that the first level agents, their first year at EXP, you actually get up to $4,000 per agent. So if everybody capped on your first level, you would actually be making $20,000 in additional revenue. So that's a total of $46,000 in that scenario, or about $3,800 a month. And when I share this with agents, I know a lot of them could really use that extra money coming in every month through revenue share. Another example, which I really like this one better, because it's now you're bringing in 10 agents, so that might be 5 your first year, 5 your second year if you're just getting started. In the same scenario, if they all cap, you would be making $28,000 in annual revenue share. And remember, this starts over every year. So once the agents cap on any level, they go to 100%, and then you don't get any revenue share until their anniversary date, and it starts all over again. And then if each one of them just brought on the 2, like in the first example, then you would be making up to $64,000 on your second level, which is a total of almost $100,000 a year, folks. That's $92,000, or about $7,667 per month. So I like to ask agents, what is your exit strategy? What is your plan to retire? And so many of our agents in our industry don't have that exit strategy, unless they had some sort of a pension or a 401k that they invested in, maybe at a different job, or maybe they have a spouse that's helping them. A lot of them don't have that. So what I love about this company is that we're able to really help our friends with a retirement plan that they otherwise wouldn't have. All right, now this is important. The next tip is you want to create a list, and not just a few names. You want to have as many people that you can think of that would be interested in and open really to finding out how our model is different. And, I was curious when I was still managing brick and mortar companies. I was really curious to find out more about how EXP grew so quickly. We went from 864 agents 10 years ago to over 80,000 in 10 years. So, wow, I want to share that with people. And most open-minded people that I've met, they want to find out as well. So in your list, I recommend agents that you've done deals with, agents that you've worked with in past brokerages. I'm very involved, and I love to be involved in my local association of realtors. So there's all kinds of opportunities. There's training opportunities, networking opportunities. And I can tell you that everywhere I go, I'm meeting agents that want to find out more about EXP. So don't be a wallflower. Get out there and meet people. Find out how you can help them, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. Another great thing that I do every weekend and throughout the week is I go to open houses and I go to brokers opens. And yesterday here in Loudoun County, there were about 140 open houses to choose from, not including builders. And so I usually choose 5 to 7 on Saturday and on Sunday, and I go and I meet agents. We talk about the market. I ask them about how the traffic is. Right now the market has shifted, so we're seeing a lot more price reductions. So I'm helping them with that. And then when the door opens and they ask me about EXP, then what I do is I say, I'd love to meet with you. Let's have coffee next week. What day works best for you? So it's really simple, folks. And I can tell you, especially some of the younger agents, they're very interested in finding out more about this cloud-based brokerage called EXP. So make your list with agents, and then think about all the folks in your sphere. Do they know that you are not just a great agent, that you're also building a network of agents throughout the country? And who do you know in Los Angeles or in Utah or in Montana that's a great agent that isn't with EXP that would be open to hearing about our great company? So it could be your friends, your family members, neighbors, past coworkers, just like you're marketing to them with your business. Same thing, you want to make sure that they know that you are building this great organization within EXP. And then I love meeting with my business partners. So my title folks, they know hundreds of agents, my lender resources, my insurance reps, home inspectors, contractors, home warranty folks. What I do is I schedule a coffee with them. And my first question is, how's your business going this year? And what can I do to help you? And I make it all about them. And I'll talk in a little bit about what I do on these meetings. I don't make it about me and EXP until the gate is open and they're open to hearing about what I'm doing. So I want to find out ways that I can help them. And the great thing about this is that usually when I ask them that, guess what they say? They say, well, would you let me host a happy hour for you? Or what can I sponsor? So I want to get them in front of my agents as well. So really it is a win-win, which is the best way to structure things. So I'm helping them, and then the right people will be more than happy to help me and my group. And so we get sponsors for happy hours. I get sponsors for training. In a little bit, I'll talk about hosting lunch and learns for the model explained. So get your partners to help you out with that. And folks, you can do this by helping them and introducing all of these business associates to your team. They will subsidize your events. Another great resource are the Chamber of Commerce. So if you're not active in the chamber, that's a great way to meet other business owners. There's great B&I groups and lead share groups that you can join. And you want to make sure within your elevator speech, when you're meeting with these business owners, that they know about EXP and what you do, and also that you're looking to meet agents that are interested in finding out more about EXP and how they can build a revenue share organization so that they can retire one day with passive recurring income. And then, of course, social media. You don't want to forget about social media, which I will talk about more in a little bit. You want to make sure that you are posting regularly on social media. And, if you have a lot of friends on Facebook that are, or any other social media platform that are agents, that is a great way to reach out to them, especially if they're not in your market, and find out how their market's going and what kind of assistance you can provide for them. And then when the opportunity arises, you can chat to them about EXP. All right, next one. This is the heavy lifting. This is making the contact. So I do it on the phone. I do it face to face. I can text or direct message them. And I do a lot of sales training. And so if you really want to get good at something, you want to track your numbers. So just like in reaching out to your sphere of influence, it comes down to contacts, leads, setting the appointment. And then in sales, it's ratifying the contract and then going to closing. It's very similar with agent attraction. You want to make a contact to generate a lead. So a good way to do that, let's say that you text somebody, hey, Bob, it's Lars. Hope your summer's going well. I would love to catch up with you one day and have coffee. What day next week are you available? It's that simple. And most people that I've met over the years, they're more than happy to meet you for coffee. Okay, and I'll talk about the coffee meeting in just a little bit. So I encourage you to have a daily and weekly contact goal, an appointment goal. So you could start with just one a week. It's that simple. And then just build it to 2 a week, 3 a week. And eventually you're going to be setting 10 meetings a week. That's 2 a day. It's not that difficult. Just think about any limiting belief that you may have about this. I would encourage you to write it down on a piece of paper and then take that paper into your backyard and burn the paper, burn it away, let go of it, because you're just meeting people for coffee. And so my good question is, would you be open to having a conversation about how your business can grow at EXP? And if they're open-minded, most of the time they're going to say, Absolutely. Sometimes you'll get objections like, well, are you trying to recruit me? Well, I'm not sure. I was hoping that you would try to recruit me. So I love meeting with team leaders at Keller Williams and managing brokers, agents that are recruiting for other companies. Go ahead and meet with them. I encourage you to do that. You'll find out more about their company and what their value proposition is, and then you can compare notes. I think that if they're open-minded, they're going to be very interested to find out why we've grown so quickly over the last 10 years as a company. And then very important step is, and I skipped over tracking your numbers. So I track all my contacts on a spreadsheet, and I update it every day manually. And then once a week, I update it on my spreadsheet, and I print out a fresh copy that I carry around with me. So I can take notes and I can add people to that list as I go through my week. And before you meet with them, it's really important that if you don't see them on a regular basis, you want to reconnect with them. I use social media to find out if they've been traveling, to see how their family's doing. I always go to homes.com, which is an app that if you're with Bright MLS, as part of our subscription, you should download that on your phone. You can see their last production for the last 12 months, the last 2 years, sometimes over the last 5 years. So I want to see where they are with their business. I also want to see if they're in volume production, if they're going to cap with EXP, because remember that if you do the math, $3.2 million in volume at 2.5%, they will hit their cap. So cappers, the agents that I love meeting with aren't necessarily the $20, $30 million producers, although that's great. In EXP, we call those icon agents. I really want to help the people that need the most help, which are they may be struggling with their business. And if they're at 3 million, we can get them to 5 million. And if they're at 5 million in production, we can get them to 10 million. And so they're cappers, they're growing their business. And if they're interested, we can help them with agent attraction as well. So that's an important step. And then also I like to check out their websites, their company website, their individual agent website. I scroll down to the bottom to see who's running that for them. Is it a company website or is it somebody that they're paying? Because remember, at EXP, for just $85 a month, that's included in all the wonderful things that we provide. All right. Now we're at the meeting, and this is where I have a lot of fun. Now, I just happen to be one of those people that loves meeting people. So I've learned over the years not to talk so much about myself. I want to make it all about them. And so I use the Ford or Forge technique, and most of you know what this stands for. So Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And then Forge is very similar. It's family, occupation, recreation, goals. And then E is for entice. So if you're new at this and you haven't done a lot of agent attraction, we all started out at the same place. So you're new at this. You want to entice them. So a lot of agents that have come over to EXP, they get the question, well, why did you join EXP? So you want to entice them. Before you're set up to do this on your own, you want to leverage your upline. So the folks that are in your line of sponsorship, especially, and not necessarily just that your upline, but you want to make sure that you're getting that assistance. And so you can entice them with well, I joined because I wanted a better split, or I wanted a lower cap, or I was tired of the franchise fee. You want to say something that may resonate with them. So that's what those stand for. So when I'm meeting with somebody for the first time at a coffee shop, usually I'll say, well, so I'll start usually with the O. So how is your business going? And I bring what I call a needs analysis sheet that, thanks to Dave Kennord, created for us. He's basically asking questions about how their business is going. How would you rate your business right now this year on a scale of 1 to 10? And nobody says a 10. So usually it's a 6 or a 7 or maybe a 4. And then you want to ask them, well, what do you need to fill in that gap so you can get to 10 so that you're hitting your goals? And if I know them personally, then I usually start off with, so how's your family doing? How are the kids doing? Make it all about them. And Frederick, who's a great mentor and wonderful leader within EXP, his idea is to put them on a pedestal and not take them off of it. So so if they say, start talking about the kids, how the family is doing, really be genuine and sincere about hearing how they're doing. It could be the R is, what are you guys doing for fun this summer? Are you still going to the lake house or the beach? Make it all about them. And what happens is when you do that with your sphere of influence, or when you're doing that on an agent attraction meeting, what happens is their defenses tend to go down and they're more open to hearing what you have to say when the time is right. Okay. And when the time is right, they're going to ask you about EXP. And I guarantee you 99% of the time that's going to happen. The times that it doesn't happen, that's okay. It happens every once in a while. I don't bring up EXP. I really want to find ways to help agents. And I'm here to serve my community, my real estate community, and my profession. So if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. Guess what? It will come up one day. And sometimes they're probably wondering why you didn't bring it up, because a lot of agents are going to be expecting that. So the D or the G, the dreams and goals, is like, so what are your goals? Where do you see yourself in the next 3 years or in the next 5 years? Because if you ask that question at the right time when you're meeting with somebody, you'll see in a minute why it's so powerful to ask those questions. Now, a lot of times when I say, where do you see yourself in 3 years? A lot of them are saying, I'll still be selling real estate. Well, how about in 5 years? Well, I'd like to start getting out of the business. Well, what's the plan? When do you plan to retire? And most agents that I've met over the years, they don't have a retirement plan, folks, which is why this is such an exciting time to be with EXP, because we can help them with that. So if they express interest when the gates open, then I'm going to go over with you in a little bit an incredible presentation that Gene Frederick came up with, and I call it the Napkin presentation. And I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. So what I do is I carry a notepad around with me. It's not a big notepad, and I'm able to do, in about 4 pieces of paper, I can show them how the model is different. So if they want to find out about EXP, I think that's great. May I show you? And so I get their permission to show them on a piece of paper how the model is different, that it's really an upside down model. It's not what they're used to. And if you go through this process, you can explain to them how the model is different, and that it's not smoke and mirrors, that we're literally sharing 50% of our company dollar with our agents through revenue share because of their agent attraction. So just to let you know, this napkin presentation is in different forms on YouTube. So Gene has I've seen probably 5 different presentations, and some are better and different than others. So I have one favorite one that I learned from, and I watched it when I started at EXP, and I found out about the napkin presentation, folks. I practiced it over and over and over, and now I literally do it in my sleep. I love sharing it with people. It's really simple. It's very compelling, especially when you get to the second page, which I'll show you in a little bit. There's other videos you should be familiar with that I love using to promote EXP. So one of them is Allison Gaddy's video. She did a video a few years ago. It probably needs some updating with some numbers, but overall it's a fantastic video. It's well produced. And it's Allison Gaddy, who was a former Keller Williams agent, who at the very beginning of the video, she says, I was never going to leave Keller Williams. I had everything I needed. And sure enough, she gets a phone call one day from Gene's daughter, Nicole, who wanted to meet Allison for coffee. And she said, I'm not going anywhere. And once she saw that we are an agent-owned company, we share the company dollar, we have this amazing technology, she couldn't unsee it, just like many of us. So that's a great video. And I usually use that video as a way to button up the sale, or to let them know after I've met, I'm going to be sending you a video, and is your spouse or bestie interested in your business? And if they are, and they usually are, then make sure that you watch it with them. Do you think you'd have time over the next couple of days to watch this video, Allison's video? And I'd love to follow up with you in a couple of days and find out what you love the most about it. Okay, because they're always going to find something, whether it's the fact that we have a health insurance offering that you can sign up for health insurance, or is it the technology, or the fact that we have all these top producers that are sharing their wisdom with us on a daily basis through the EXP world. and at different events. It's an amazing company. So I use Allison's for that. And then Brent Gove, he's more roll up your sleeves, and he shares his story about how he was with Remax and he loved it there. And when he would invite or bring somebody on board, if they weren't part of his team, he might get a Starbucks card. And then he went to Keller Williams, another great company. And I think he said the most he ever made in a month was, I think he said something like $700 in profit share. So it's very compelling. That I share with people that are very interested in doing agent attraction. So it's not as genteel as Allison's. Allison's, I think more agents can relate to it, just because if you're still in production, that her story resonates with people, with agents that are still selling. So that's a great tool as well. And then, of course, Gene Frederick, he has a lot of videos. Really, Brent and Gene both do. And folks, I think it's better to watch these videos if you really want to grow your business and learn the napkin presentation. That's a better use of your time than a lot of the other stuff that's out on YouTube. And then, as I say here on the bottom, use these videos to edify and explain the EXP model. All righty. So that's at the meeting. Now, this is an important tip. Enthusiasm and knowledge. People that know me, that see me on a regular basis, they know I tend to be pretty enthusiastic. And I can tell you, I've never been more enthusiastic about real estate. I got started in 1988, so it's been a long 37 years. Enjoyed every year of it. And I can tell you that in 2025, I've never been more optimistic about the outlook of not just real estate, certainly about EXP and where we're going as a company. So you need to know our value proposition, just like with any company, whether you are still with a brick and mortar company or not. You need to know what makes your company different and special. And you should do that for your own business as a real estate agent. You also need to know what our company's value proposition is. So here's just a few of them. We have the most amazing training programs. This is one of them, FYR University. We offer this on a regular basis. Every training we have is recorded. You can find us on YouTube. It's amazing when you start searching EXP on YouTube, how many different leaders within our company have shared their wisdom. We give our top agents, our icon agents, an incentive through stock gift to share their wisdom, as I mentioned earlier. We have phenomenal support. I've never seen a community more supportive, not just within your own group, really across the board. Because we own stock in the company, I want everybody to do well. And I don't care if you're in my downline, my upline, and even if you're not with EXP, I'll still help you. I love helping agents. And so we get support like that. We get statewide experienced brokers. Here in Virginia, we have 5. 2 of them are dedicated just for Northern Virginia, and they're really phenomenal folks. I think we have the best technology on the planet for real estate. We have a metaverse with avatars. I mean, who would have thought of that? So we can take classes, we can go to meetings, we can be right in our own homes, not having to drive to the same office every time. We have a phenomenal new agent program. We have a wonderful mentor program for new agents. And if you're experienced and you want to be a mentor, it's a great way to supplement your income by helping new agents with their first 3 sales. We're in all 50 states, every single MLS, and we're also in 27 countries, I think soon to be 28. And just think about this. I have a lot of agents that I know in Virginia that are also licensed in other parts of the country. There's a very good chance that they will be with a different brokerage with 2 different caps. So you could have a $26,000 cap here in Virginia and a $28,000 cap in Florida. And guess what? That's over $50,000 that you're having to pay in company dollar to 2 different brokerages with probably different branding. And that can be confusing to the consumer. So at EXP, you're under 1 cap, $16,000. You can be licensed in as many states and countries as you want. So that's incredible. We provide health insurance. It's very cost affordable. We have Revenues, which is an additional way to generate leads for your business. We have a phenomenal growing luxury brand with some great leaders within the luxury brand. We have a commercial division, which is one of our fastest divisions for growth. And we're the top independent brokerage in the US in units sold over the last 3 years. Very proud to say that. And then you need to know your competition. That will help your knowledge base. And so I study our competition in my marketplace every single day. I'm out meeting with other agents with different companies. I love meeting with team leaders, with managing brokers to find out, what their plans are for the future. Those are really good people to bring over to EXP because they tend to know a lot of people and they're used to the recruiting process. I can tell you, having to recruit for brick and mortar companies for 20 years, this is a much easier model to invite people to. We have, in most cases, we have a lower cap. We have a really generous split to get you to full 100%. And guess what? We have no franchise fee. So just that 6% alone, if that's what your franchise fee is, that alone can make the difference of somebody wanting to join EXP. I can tell you, the more you know and the more confident you are, that will absolutely fuel your enthusiasm so that you're more likely to want to share what you know about EXP. So take the time to learn some of the things that we have to offer in terms of our value proposition. All right. And then just a few more here. These are important. So you want to be engaged on social media. You want to demonstrate that you're an expert in the real estate industry. So you're already doing that with your listing videos and tips about the business. Also, let them know that you're building an organization throughout the country and perhaps the world with EXP, and you need to meet agents that are looking for a change, that are interested in finding out more about EXP and how we grew to such a large company in a short amount of time, and why we're doing so well. So you want to be consistent on social media, and most of you have known that this is not a social media class. I can tell you that it's important to mix up some business with some personal things. So I try to post something every couple of days, and it's not all about EXP. We have a saying, you don't want to EXP on people. So you do want to be consistent, and just sharing some of the EXP posts on Facebook will bring in interest within your sphere of influence. So that's an important aspect of it. And if you're not well known within the real estate community, just because you might be newer, it makes it even more important to be relevant on social media. So don't overlook that. And videos is the way to go. So we'll have a video class in upcoming sessions that I will help you with that. And then another great way to generate interest is hosting mastermind events. Seminars. I just got done teaching a series of classes at my local association of realtors, and half the agents there were with EXP. The other half are coming to EXP. I think I've got a couple of them on my call today. So welcome. So you could invite for a mastermind series. You could have a CPA, a tax advisor, a social media expert, a motivational speaker, get a title company and a lender to host them for you. And then I'm excited to start this next month. We're going to start hosting monthly lunch and learns where it's full disclosure. We're talking about the EXP model. So and so I'll explain how the model is different. I will do the napkin presentation, which I'll go over in a minute. And I have a wonderful friend that's sponsoring lunch, and another friend who is the lender who is allowing us to use her beautiful office. So, and then the last tip I have, if you haven't heard of Nolly Williams, you need to check him out on YouTube. He's also an author. He's very motivational. If you go to Miami, and I hope you all do, you'll probably see him speak. I recommend taking one of his classes. He says the fortune is in the follow-up, and nothing could be truer. You want to be consistent. For some agents, it takes a few meetings for them to really warm up to the idea of switching brokerages. For many agents, change is hard. I can tell you that if I hadn't read Who Moved My Cheese, I wouldn't be so in tune to change. So change is the only constant in life. And some of us, I identify with sniff and scurry in the book, where we're always looking for a new opportunity because we know that the cheese doesn't always stay in one place. It moves around. Sometimes the cheese is depleted. And folks, that is absolutely happening right now with brick and mortar companies. There's no doubt about it. I'm seeing in my marketplace offices closing that have been there for years, offices consolidating, there's layoffs. So that's the change that is going on in our industry. Expenses have gone up, revenue has gone down. So the profit that for brokerages, for brick and mortar brokerages that have a lot of costs with rent and overhead and staff for empty offices, that change is real. The folks that take a little bit longer to come over, in the book, Who Moved My Cheese, they're called him and haw. So him and haw, they don't like change. They're in denial. They're really ticked off that their cheese has been moved. And really, I encourage you, it's a very small book to read. It's a great gift for the hims and the haws that are in denial about the change that they see in their industry. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this section here, and I'm going to open up this guy, and I'm going to do a slideshow from the beginning. Good. You guys all with me? Can I get an amen from somebody?
We're with you.
Amen.
All righty. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go over this. This is so amazing. My girlfriend, Suzanne, I love you, Suzanne. Thank you for doing this. Not Suzanne Fox, another Suzanne. She's seen the napkin presentation. So folks, I normally do this on a piece of paper. I have a little clipboard somewhere here.
We're still looking at the old presentation here.
Oh, Danke schön. Okay. So how can I do that here?
Now we see you.
Aha. Well, let's change that. Yeah. Thank you. Now you good?
There we go.
You see 1906 Coldwell Banker? Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right, so here's what I do. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm at a coffee shop, meeting with the agent, making it all about them. I'm really listening. I'm an active listener. I'm asking open-ended questions based on Ford or Forge. When the time is right, you'll know it. They're going to turn to you and say, well, tell me more about EXP, or why did you join EXP? So when that comes up, and it will most of the time, well, I can assure you that if you practice what I'm teaching and you watch Gene's video, you can do this anywhere. You just need a piece of paper and a pen. So I carry a little clipboard around with me, not very large, and I do this basically on usually 3 pieces of paper. So the first thing I do is I say, well, let me explain to you a little bit about where I was. I managed real estate offices for 20 years. I saw change was inevitable, that the brick and mortar model was really changing and quite frankly dying. And I wanted to find out more about EXP. I met with a person that I had worked with in previous brokerages. She showed me the model and I couldn't unsee it. It was phenomenal. It got me really excited about leaving brick and mortar and joining this fabulous company called EXP. And so what I learned is that the model is different. And the best way for me to explain it is to show you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how the history of brick and mortar companies really didn't change for over 100 years. So in 1906, and I write down 1906 on the top of the first page, that's when Coldwell Banker opened their doors on August 27th of 1906. And I usually will say, well, because you want to keep them engaged. So I'll usually say, so where were you in 1906? And they all look at me funny, like, does he have the year wrong? And I say, remember, that was the year of the San Francisco earthquake. Like, oh, yeah, well, none of us were around, I don't think. That was over 100 years ago. So that's when Coldwell Banker opened. And they were the first of its kind that we had investors that start a company. They're normally international companies. And they, a lot of them will sell franchises, and they sell them on a regional basis. So all of the anywhere companies like Century 21, Coldwell Banker, ERA, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, Remax, Keller Williams, these are all familiar names. Most of them are regional franchises. And what they do is they look to sell franchises to broker owners. So those folks at Remax, at Keller, et cetera, Century 21, they take on all the risk of running a profitable business. And I can tell you, and I think we have some broker owners on the call today, even in the best years, the profit is so tiny that a lot of these franchise owners, guess what? They still have to sell real estate to make ends meet. And my challenge as a managing broker, when I didn't sell as a managing broker, when I had to deal with offices that their manager was always out selling, it made it tough. So they take on all the risk of running a successful brokerage. And who do they hire? They hire staff. They pay rent, a lot of money. If you're in a high cost area, they pay you a lot of money for rent. And quite frankly, they pay rent in offices that a lot of agents don't use. They never go in. There's all this overhead. They have to pay managing brokers, team leaders. That all costs money. And they're paying that whether their agents sell any houses or not. And then I say to them, so who is at the very bottom of this? Who did we leave out? And it's the agent. It's you. So I'm like, yep, it's the agent. And when I'm doing this, folks, you see how this is a rectangle? I'm making boxes. And one thing I learned recently from Gene is that he kind of made these boxes to be more like a pyramid. So who's at the bottom of the pyramid? It's the agents, right? And we all recognize this model. And really, the only things that changed over the last 100 years, oh, and by the way, if you're with a franchise, what do you pay? You pay 6% off the top. And folks, that money adds up significantly year after year after year. And what are they getting for that 6%? Remember, most consumers hire the agent and not the brand. Okay, so you're paying that 6% fee. And as I mentioned, the only thing that really changed, Century 21 really perfected the regional franchise model, and they became a great company. They became international. Really had a great run. And then Remax came along. They introduced some changes. They started putting caps on company dollar. They were really one of the first companies to embrace that. And then Keller Williams didn't change this structure. What they did is they said, if you invite agents and we're profitable, well, we're going to share some of that profit with you. The problem is, in order to be profitable, you've got to make more money than you spend. And so I can tell you that when I see Keller Williams offices, God bless them, great company, when I see them closing offices right here in Northern Virginia in my marketplace, I know they're not profitable. So that's the model. It's the old-fashioned model. So 100 years later, in 2009, EXP started. The founder, his name is Glenn Sanford. He's a major influencer within our industry. He had worked at America Online back in the 90s. Came from a tech background, super smart guy. And he decided to get his real estate license, went to go work for Keller Williams, ran a very successful team. He perfected the online lead. And through his success at Keller Williams, he realized that if we use the cloud technology that we have at our disposal, guess what? We can get rid of a lot of the costs involved in running a brokerage. And one of the things that he realized is that what if we turn this model upside down? So instead of the agents being at the bottom of this model, we actually put them at the top. And you see how I make a circle here? So everything on the right-hand side is going to be in a circle as opposed to a box. And so when you're doing this and you watch Gene do it, you'll recognize that that's an important little nuance of doing this. So we're going to turn the model upside down. We're going to make the agents the owners. We're going to give them ways to earn stock in the company. And by the way, I explained to them that this is a international company. It's traded on NASDAQ. As of Friday, the market cap was about $1.5 billion. We don't have debt service. We're not paying rent. So we were able to get rid of a lot of the costs. We're going to put the office in the cloud. And he even built an online EXP World metaverse called EXP World, where we all have avatars. We can go to meetings. We can take classes. We can meet with brokers. We can get tech support, all live in EXP World, Monday through Friday during normal business hours. And we have a toll-free number, by the way, that's 24/7 for agent support. Phenomenal. And what are we going to do? We're going to, by putting the office in the cloud, we're going to start putting X's over all of the things that we're not spending money on. So there's no franchise fee. There's no regional franchises. We're one company. We don't have broker owners who are taking on this risk. In fact, a lot of us, like me, I see myself running a brokerage within EXP without having any of these costs, risks, expenses. I love it. If we put the office in the cloud, and then we consolidated our staff, we streamlined it. We still have amazing agent support. It's just that we're not paying for employees to go sit in an empty real estate office for 8 hours doing nothing but twiddling their thumbs. So we reduced the overhead. We got rid of the team leaders. We have, because we're scalable, we were able to consolidate management. And best of all, well, and then because of the cost, we share the company dollar, which I'll explain in just a little bit. So we share the revenue. In fact, we share 50% of our company dollar with our agents. And then we'll talk about stock equity in the company. And I like that dollar sign. So here's why most agents join EXP initially, because unless you get in an upline full of agent attractors like I happen to be in a line of sponsorship that is like that, where we have a lot of leaders within our group. Most agents come because they want a better split, they want a lower cap, and they're sick and tired of paying that franchise fee. So right away, most agents are better off. And remember, I mentioned earlier that you're going to cap, if you do 3.2 million in volume at 2.5%, which I'm still seeing, then you're going to cap it at 3.2 million in volume, which in my market is about 3 homes. Okay. All right. So that's first page. Now, here's what I do. I write on the second page, I write these numbers down. $900,000, 4%, $36,000, and $3,000. And I ask them, and remember earlier I said how important it is to ask the agent that you're meeting with, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's your exit strategy? Okay. And most of them, they either say, I've got another 10 years. I really don't have an exit strategy. I never thought I'd retire from real estate. I'm just going to keep on going. Well, folks, the last few years in real estate have been some of the toughest years that I've seen in a long time. So a lot of them are burned out. And a lot of, maybe some of you on this call can relate to that, you know what, it's become really tough to be an agent with, NAR lawsuits and buyer compensation changing and, interest rates and lower inventory that's now starting to build up. So I write those numbers down. Well, most of them, when I say, so tell me what those numbers mean to you, most of them will guess that it's a 4% commission on a $900,000 sale, which is nice, which would bring you $36,000, or they're not sure what the 3,000 is. They think, well, maybe that goes to EXP. I said, well, you know what? Most agents guess that. What this number represents to me is that if you manage to save $900,000, let's say that you saved about $50,000 a year for the last 20 years after taxes, and you were ready to retire on the $900,000. If you go to your financial planner, they'll say, well, congratulations, Lars, you managed to save $900,000. Because we don't want you to spend all of this over the next 20 years, we're going to recommend that you take out 4% a year. That's $36,000 a year, or $3,000 a month. Now, I can tell you in Northern Virginia, that would be really tough. If that was your only source of income because you flat out wanted to retire, now this doesn't include Social Security, which isn't much more. You can't live off of that. And Gene will tell you that in California, that'll buy you a surfboard. So unless you're retiring somewhere that that allows you to live off of $3,000 a month, and there are places in the world like that, well, that's pretty tough go. So I say to them, you have choices. Stay where you are, keep paying the 6%, save the $900,000, and then expect in 10 years to live off of $3,000 a month. That's assuming you've already saved $450,000. Or come work with us. We'll help you do this. We have tremendous support to build revenue share. So here's how this works. So this could be you in 2 years. Let's say the first year we'll help you bring 3 people on board, and then maybe the second year another 3. Do you think that's realistic? So I want to engage them, and most of them say, yeah, I think I could do that. You have friends in your current brokerage. So let's say your first year. Within your first couple of years, and you've seen this model earlier, that you bring on 6 people that named you as their sponsor. You're going to get rewarded through EXP, through our revenue share, up to $2,800 per agent. That amounts to $16,800. And let's say, because we know how agents are, let's say that each one of those 6 just brings on one person that they sponsor. So you'd have 6 people on your first level, you'd have 6 on your second. Now, here's what I do. I jumped ahead. So what I do is I write the number 6 down on the second level, I put the multiplier X, and then I have them guess. So if you get $2,800 per agent on your first level, how much do you suppose EXP rewards you for bringing on people on your second level? And most people guess what? Most people guess $1,400. I say, you know what? That's what most people guess. Believe it or not, it's more. It's $3,200. And they'll say, wow, well, and so when I know when Gene Frederick saw this for the first time, he asked Glenn Sanford, he said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that if I help my first level agents bring on people on their first level, that I actually am rewarded more? I love that. You're a genius. Why did you do that? And Gene found out from Glenn that Glenn wants to have a company where we all help each other. And that really resonated with me when I saw the model for the first time. So if you do the math, and this isn't including, as I mentioned earlier, the $4,000 on your first level agents, their first 12 months, guess what? That's the same amount as if you had saved $900,000. This is recurring passive income. And there's a third level, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh level. So then it ends at 7 levels. You can go as wide as you want on any of your first 7 levels, and then it cuts off for this model to work. And then I like to use this last example. What if you save $4.5 million at 4%? That's $180,000 a year of passive recurring income, or about $15,000 a month. Well, guess what? What's possible, Nicole Rousseau, Gene's daughter, she had never sold real estate before. When Gene left Keller Williams after 21 years and started with EXP back in 2015, he had his daughter Nicole get her license. And he said to her, honey, why don't you get your license? I'll help you. Why don't we get 10 of your friends to get their real estate licenses? So that's 10 on her first level at $2,800 per agent is about $28,000. With her dad's help, and this is what I'm helping my agents do, I want to help my first level agents get their 10. So that's 100 agents. So if you do the math, if everybody capped on your second level, you would make up to $320,000 per year in recurring income. Let's say, though, to be realistic, that they're all half cappers. We're only doing about 1.6 million in volume, which, in my market isn't a lot. Cut that number in half. That's $188,000 of recurring passive annual mailbox money income, which is more than $15,000 a month. So guess what? On average, so you could save the $4.5 million, which I think is, less than 0.1% of our country, or within a few years, that's what Nicole did. And I think she's now close to 1,000 agents in her organization. This is what's possible, folks. Passive recurring income. And I'll show you one more slide here. We just have a couple more minutes. So I want to make sure that I share with them how they can earn EXP stock. So this is gifted to you. You're vested after 3 years. When you close your first transaction each year, you get $200 of shares of stock. When you cap, you get $400 of shares of stock. When an agent that you sponsor on your first level has their first sale with EXP, you get $400 of shares of stock. Thank you so much. And icon status, those are our top producers. They're doing about 20 million in volume. They get $8,000 of company stock gifted to them to hit their sales goal, and then another $8,000 if they contribute back to our community by teaching a class, attending a convention, a regional event, a rally. And then you can also invest in stock at a discount with up to 5% of your commission. You get a 5% discount. And we're just about done with that. I'm going to close you out, and I will open it up just for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to bombard me with them now. You've got about 120 seconds before we close out the day.
Lars, this is phenomenal. Thank you so much for making this so simple and easy.
It's my pleasure, Kyle. All right. Anybody else before we stop the recording? If you say something, you will be recorded on YouTube in perpetuity. And if you don't have any other questions, then Kristen, if you want to end our recording for today. Uh,
Wow.